Hi everybody, this is Note 60. So today we're reviewing something that we've learned in the past, which is called radical equations. And the way that we're going to solve them is by using the power that's the opposite of the root. So the first thing we're going to do is isolate the radical on one side of the equation. That means get the radical by itself. So I see that the radical is here and it stopped at the 2. Well, that means that I need to get rid of this positive 4. I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. So I have this square root of x plus 2 equals 7 minus 4, which is 3. Then it says raise each side of the equation to a power equal to the index of the radical to eliminate the radical. So this has a power of 2, and so as you guys are pretty familiar with, we're going to take this side to the power of 2. So it has an index of 2, so we take it to the power of 2. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other to keep it equal. So that was going to cancel the square root and the square and leave me with just x plus 2 equals, and then 3 squared, of course, is 9. From there, I'm going to solve the resulting polynomial. So I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. I get x equals 7. The last piece that I'm going to want to do every time is to check for extraneous solutions. So what I do is I take my answer and I plug it back into the problem. So I'd say, okay, the square root, and I see an x there, so instead I'm going to put a 7, plus 2, and then outside plus 4, should be 7. If it's not 7, we have a problem. So I'd say the square root of 7 plus 2 is 9. Square root of 9 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7. That's true. So this is called correct and checked. Correct and checked. So we want to check and make sure for every single problem when we do this. It's not just to make sure that we got our answer correct. It's actually that sometimes our problems don't work when we plug them back in. And that's what we call an extraneous solution, this like weird word right here. So we're going to rock it out. For this one, we're going to do the exact same thing. Why don't you guys go ahead and try this one on your own. If you need somewhere to get started, you can add 1 on both sides. Get the square root of y minus 2 equals 6. If you square both sides, gets rid of the square root and the square. Y minus 2 equals 36. I'm going to add 2 on both sides. I get y equals 38. From there, I'm just going to check to make sure that that was correct. So I have the square root of 38 minus 2 should be minus 1 equals 5. So 38 minus 2 is 36. Square root of 36 is 6. Minus 1 is 5. That's true. So 38 is my correct answer. You might see something a little different that has 2 square roots in it, but they're on opposite sides, so that's okay. So I know that I can get rid of this by taking the square root. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So my square root, my square will cancel. The same thing's going to happen on the right side. Square root and square cancel. I get x minus 12 equals negative x. I'm trying to get my x's together. I see I have 12 on this side, so I'm going to take the x away. It's going to leave me with negative 12 equals negative 2x. Divide by negative 2. I get x equals 6. I'm going to take that 6, plug it back in. Right, so I'm going to take this, plug it back in there. So I have 6 minus 12, square root of that, should be equal to the square root of negative 6. So I have 6 minus 12 would be the square root of negative 6 equal to the square root of negative 6. And that is true. So I know this is my correct answer. All right. And then finally we see one that's just a little bit different. So instead of a 2 here, we see that there's a 3 there. So if I have the cube root of something, the opposite is to take the cube or take it to the power of 3. before I do that, I have to get the root by itself. So I'm going to add this 4 on both sides. So I get the cube root of 6x minus 3 is equal to positive 4. So as we were just saying, the opposite of taking something to the third root is to take it to the power of 3. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. That's going to cancel my cube root and my cube to give me 6x minus 3 is equal to 4 to the third, 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. I'm going to add 3 on both sides. I get 6x equals 67 divided by 6. I get x equals 67 over 6. I know that's not a whole number, so I'm going to hold off with trying to do anything about it. Right? I'm going to take that number and plug it right back in here. So I would have the cube root of 6x, but instead of x, I'm going to put 67 over 6 minus 3, and then minus 4 should be 0. So I'll start inside here. The 6 over 1, the 6's would cancel. I get 67 minus 3. 67 minus 3 is 64, and I have the cube root of 64. The cube root of 64 is 4, minus 4 is 0. That's true. So I know that this is my correct answer. That's pretty much it. You're going to jump onto iExcel. If you're looking for the code, it's at the very top on the front of your packet. It's right here. So you're going to level M, L.13. If you are star, 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 you are going to 60. If you are on track, you're headed to 75. And if you're honors, you're doing 90